Ghana's E-levy is quite simply a tax applied on electronic transfers, apart from those excluded by law. After weeks of deliberating and discussions, Ghana's government decided to implement the 1.5% levy on electronic transfers, apart from a few exceptions. For example, say you are to make a transfer of less than 100 cedis for mobile money per day, you would not be charged the percentage. But say you are to transfer money to someone above 100 cedis, the extra amount above the 100 cedis is to be taxed. Now, the target or the aim of this was electronic platforms. However, you notice that for, say, the banking sector, some banks allow you to make transfers of, say, 20,000 Ghana cedis per day. And yet, say you are transferring money from bank to wallet, your limit is still 100 Ghana cedis. Another thing is important to notice that before these taxes were implemented or included or added, there were already charges for making mobile money transactions or transfers. For example, say you had to send 100 cedis, you'd be charged about 1 Ghana cedis. Say you asked to send 200, you'd be charged about 2 cedis. So that's a 1% charge on every transfer, if my calculation is right. In addition to the 100 cedi relief, there were other things implemented to ease the burden on the regular Ghanaian and make sure that government not only achieves its targets, but it's not burdensome to Ghanaians, because obviously if it is burdensome, then the likelihood of government achieving its targets would be low, as people would turn away from electronic platforms or mobile money, to be specific, as mentioned earlier, since the banking activities seem relatively cheaper. Now, two of the examples of things implemented to ease the burden include, say, not charging E-levy on merchant accounts and not charging E-levy for cash deposits and cash withdrawals onto the mobile money accounts. Now, one reason this is a big deal for lots of Ghanaians, and that's speaking of mobile money taxation or mobile money being taxed, is mobile money had become the go-to platform for all sorts of payments, from purchasing items to paying subcontractors to paying workers to paying Uber drivers. To literally, mobile money was Ghana moving more towards a cashless society, and all sorts of workers and individuals use the platform for business and personal purchases. Now, one major problem the levy, I believe, will have is it was introduced at a time when the cost of living is relatively high and it looks expensive. So what's probably going to happen is you're going to have a large majority of people looking for alternatives to make payments, and thus the targets may not be achieved. Because when you look at the targets that were given, the expectations are quite high that not many people would look at using other platforms or turn to cash. Now, we need to remember that Ghana is a country that was aiming at going cashless, and one thing that the introduction of the levy may have done unintentionally is bring back the cash payment practices that used to be there. Because when you look at the charges and the alternative of even, say, buying fuel and driving to pay, say you are dealing with subcontractors, in some cases it's cheaper. Another topic or comment is the levy was obviously introduced for bank transactions, etc. But when you look at, say, the charges for banks, for example, with some banks you can go as high as 20,000 per day without being charged, whilst with mobile money, once you go above 100 cedis per day, you are charged. It comes off as way to revive the banking sector, because one thing mobile money did was, with those who had, say, small deposits, they were keeping it in their wallet, etc. So there's a possibility that the E-levy could unintentionally revive the banking sector and get people to, keep their money in the bank, do more bank transfers, etc., etc. And another thing is obviously the cost of doing business, which could or automatically has an effect on the end consumer or the end service user, because you notice a lot of people were making payments via mobile money, and now what's going to happen is they are going to weigh the alternative of, okay, bank transfer, is there a charge? Mobile money, is there a charge? Do I need to drive there? And they are going to factor those charges, to the end consumers. One benefit of having a cashless society is, when you say want to trace activities, or you want to more or less collect taxes, it's easier. Now, for lots of countries, informal sectors are necessities and won't get too economical, but to put it in a small business perspective tense, some countries need the informal sector to function the way it does, because if, say, they are taxed like the regular businesses or the well-known businesses or establishments, people wouldn't be encouraged to, say, go into those businesses. Now, what the cashless system would have created, or was creating, was a system that's easier to monitor and easier to keep track of, and what we could have built on to, build a more structured environment for payment. On this channel, we've talked about individuals versus systems, and one issue that most sub-Saharan African countries have is they have individuals superseding the system. So say you go to an office, you are paying via cash. It's easier for the individual there to, say, manipulate things in their favor. But once you go cashless, once you go electronic, once you are paying, say, via mobile money or bank transfer, it mitigates, I don't want to say nullifies, the ability for people to manipulate, but it reduces or keeps in check people's ability to, manipulate or control things. And obviously, government would likely put in place measures or give fees to, say, government institutions to encourage people to do that, say, when they go into government offices. But then for individual companies, how do you go about, avoiding these charges, or how do you convince your customer to pay via mobile money instead of cash when he or she has to pay the charge? Another problem the levy could create is, you'd notice in Ghana, if you're a Ghanaian, in most communities, that there are lots of mobile money vendors. Now, what could happen is you could see a decrease in the number of mobile money vendors, which means, people could lose their jobs and look for alternatives due to the lack of demand for the service.